Hello YouTube, this is ChardarYuGiOh, and today I want to talk about something that I think a few new players and even a few more experienced players, not necessarily highly competitive players, but at least players at local levels, really don't grasp, and that is how decks influence one another. And I think one of the best examples of this in our current meta is Burning Abyss and Clifforts. Clifforts are a very overpowered deck. They're extremely aggressive and easily outpace and overwhelm almost any other deck out there. While Burning Abyss are a very slow, grindy control deck that can just stop almost any play that their opponent can put on the board, and they counter Clifforts very well because Clifforts require their scout and usually another pendulum scale to be up to do almost anything. Since Burning Abyss can counter those cards, can stop the scout, can break the scales quite easily, Burning Abyss have a very strong Clifford matchup. So what this means for the meta, at least at your local area or even at a regional area, is that if there are a lot of Clifford players, that makes Burning Abyss a much stronger choice for that meta. And then if there are a lot of Burning Abyss players, because there were a lot of Clifford players, then say a deck like Shadal's, which has a decent matchup against Burning Abyss, also becomes a lot better. So in this way, you create this triangle meta where if you have a lot of one deck, another deck will rise to counter that, and then another deck will rise to counter that. And what this also means is that decks that share common weaknesses can make certain rogue decks a lot stronger. Like if your meta doesn't have a lot of Clifforts and is mostly made up of Shadal's or Burning Abyss, then decks like Stellar Knights and Geargaias that can play extreme floodgate cards like Macro and Dimensional Fissure also have an edge in that meta. So if the Geargaia and Stellar Knight players start putting down the Burning Abyss and Shadal players, then Quilliforts become a much better choice for that meta. And in this way, you just can see how different decks, when one deck becomes popular, another deck will rise to counter it, and how if you pay attention to trends in your local area, you'll do a lot better at your local tournaments by being able to pick a deck that can counter your meta, or if you keep track of what the general trend is in the entire Yu-Gi-Oh community, usually by watching feature matches online and seeing what's making top 32s, you can pick the best deck for your next event, and they'll give you an edge over most of your competition, which might be flocking to what is still the most popular instead of what counters the most popular. So that's just something that is very important to learn if you're going to be playing in events and you want to do well in events, because you got to give yourself every bit of advantage you can if you want to win. And paying attention to those trends will give you a pretty good edge over your competition. So post what you think of this down below, and peace out, YouTube.